Let's test the difference between real cheese cultures that you can only buy online and grocery store probiotics that have been carrying this entire series on their microscopic little backs, culturing cheeses of all kinds, just not the cow kind. Hello friends and not yet friends, welcome back to Mary's Test Kitchen, where I'm starting by making the milk high protein and high fat from sesame and soybeans for the ultimate cultured vegan cheese. Or so I hope. At least I'm sure I won't accidentally make construction material again. In previous episodes, sesame has been amazing. It made these bouncy bocconcini-like curds, mild, nutty, briny, and extremely snackable. Also one of, if not my favorite, aged cheese of the series, developing the aroma of Black Forest ham and surprisingly cheddar-like flavors. Except the texture wasn't cheddary at all. Soy, meanwhile, has never actually tasted like cheese, but absolutely commits to the texture. Firm, smooth, sliceable, occasionally hard enough to survive re-entry. I'm hoping these ingredients balance each other out for something even more satisfying. Speaking of satisfaction and hope, I've got a new straining bag made out of nylon. Even when I have a go-to, I feel the need to try new things once in a while, don't you? Otherwise, how would we know what we're missing?
No!
The trusty nut milk bag once again proving to be the trustiest. After straining, we have 1900 milliliters, almost 2 liters or about 2 quarts, which I repeated to make 2 separate batches for our 2 separate culturing agents. Each batch fits perfectly into my new mellow yellow Biodyne 3.6 quart ceramic non-stick frying pan with enough headroom that I probably won't be cleaning soy milk off the stove today. Probably. Let's turn on the heat, and the question now is, will this milk self-coagulate like pure sesame milk does? Or will it need extra help like soy milk typically does? By the way, Biodyne is sponsoring a portion of today's video, so I'll tell you more about the pan as we go along. We're at 143 degrees Fahrenheit, rising up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Still no separation. Remember, previously, some batches of sesame milk made this stretchy stuff. Some of it turned into blobby curd. All of it separated without any additional coagulant, but it might need a little higher temperature. We'll know for sure once it actually gets to a simmer.
No signs of self-coagulation. That's very interesting.
Notice, nothing is sticking. Any buildup on the sides is easily swiped away. Compare that to the usual lovely layer of cooked on cement around the sides, if not the bottom, which is super annoying to clean. The main reason I wanted to try this pan from Biodyne, it's third-party tested to ensure 0% PFAS, PFOA, lead, and cadmium as well, while being the most non-stick pan I've ever used. Pot stickers don't stick. They slide. Also, pancakes. The 5mm plus ultra-thickened base heats evenly, preventing hot spots, helping you achieve better results. Great for browning delicate foods, but also for making finicky ones like my nightly popcorn, puffy, perfect, and never any burnt kernels. The Chef Light series all have this oil pooling center technology, so when you need oil to carry oil-soluble flavors, it stays put and you can keep it minimal. Blooming this garlic and tomato paste for my favorite rosé sauce braised tofu and broccoli. Even though it's large enough for a family, it's easy to handle. If you want to check out this pan or other sizes in the series, I have a 20% off coupon for you to use on their official website, or you can find them on Amazon as well. I'll have all the links for you in the description box. Thanks to Biodyne for sponsoring this portion of the video, but back to the milk. Clearly, we don't have any magic coagulation happening. Boo earns. But maybe it's saving all the magic for flavor. Let's taste test. My friends, that is really good. It's mild, creamy, nutty, and just like the barest, slightly sweet soy milk flavor. Since it won't coagulate itself, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Very old-fashioned with calcium sulfate, one of the traditional tofu coagulants from like 1,000 years ago. Goes into the hot milk just off the boil. At this point, the temperature should have settled into the sweet spot. It's 165 here, 170-ish. Perfect temp for coagulating soy milk. But will sesame soy agree? I'll find out in 15 minutes. You'll find out, not quite right now, because I forgot to hit record the first time I checked and it wasn't actually fully coagulated. So this is actually after another 5 minutes, but over low heat. And this time, the curds are very curdled. You can tell because of the texture. Do you see those vertical striations? This gives me a clue to the chicken textured tofu, but we'll have to explore that in another video if you want me to, so definitely let me know if you're interested in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm not going to touch it. For now, I'm breaking up the curds a bit and then letting them cool, because even though our new fancy cheese culture is thermophilic, meaning heat-loving, that doesn't mean lava-loving. When I first started making fermented vegan cheeses about a decade ago, getting real cheese cultures that were also vegan was next to impossible. Thankfully, things have improved. There's one supplier that ships throughout Canada and the US, and internationally in many cases. At the time of my order, though, most of the vegan cultures were sold out, but luckily, I got my hands on this one. My wallet, however, did not escape unharmed. Minus Milk TSC thermophilic non-dairy culture has just one strain, Streptococcus salivarius, subspecies Thermophilus. If you make yogurt, that might sound familiar because it's commonly used in yogurt with Lactobacillus bugaricus, and it's super common in dairy cheese making, particularly for mozzarella. But is it the bacteria that makes mozzarella taste like mozzarella, or is it the milk? To find out, based on the package instructions, I'm adding a tiny bit of culture to the first batch of curds, now only about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and helping it flow around and settle in. If you watch traditional cheesemakers, they often cut their curds much smaller than I am. However, speaking from future Mary's perspective, I might have gotten carried away. Then I divided the curds away into a couple of sterilized containers so our premium microbes don't need to compete with any previous tenants. Pop on the lids into the dehydrator set to 100 degrees, although this is only a home dehydrator, not a laboratory incubator, so the temperature will wander around a little. But don't worry, Streptococcus salivarius thermophilus can handle it. It was actually the next day when I made the second batch of sesame-soy milk with the same cooking method, same coagulation, same cooling. The only difference, the bacteria. Just grocery store probiotics. The same brand we've used throughout this series, with 15 different strains of bifido and lactobacterias, 50 billion CFUs, or colony-forming units. I'll just use one capsule into the curds, which have cooled down to body temperature, about 98 degrees. This time I didn't cut the curds quite so small before moving them over into the dehydrator for their own 24-hour session. Now with a little YouTube magic, we're looking at both batches side by side after 24 hours of fermentation. How will they be different? First, Team Thermophilic inoculated with our special cheese culture. Sharp and a little fruity. It's a promising sign of active fermentation. Now the curds. I can taste the sesame in that. It's just a little hint of nuttiness. Sour like a fruity sour. It's not super intense. There's nothing really cheesy about it yet. So let's press it and see how that goes. I'm trying to distribute them evenly, as you can see, all the way into the corners. Fold in the cloth. Add the pressing lid. Increase the pressure. And pour off excess whey. I learned this lesson in a previous episode. Leaving too much whey in the press made the block softer and more fragile than I wanted. So this batch is getting a firmer treatment. Then it's going to go in the fridge to tighten up. As it chills, I'll continue pouring off the whey and increasing the pressure as much as the press allows. Now for our block made with grocery store probiotics whey taste test. Definitely a more assertive first impression. That is sharper. Now onto the curds. The texture is similarly soft, but the flavor is more complex. Not just sour and vaguely fruity, but peachy, lemon rind, and mild nutty sesame flavor underneath. It actually tastes pretty good. Same treatment as the first batch into the fridge, periodically pouring off the whey and increasing the pressure until the next day. It's time for fresh pressed cheeses. At this stage, I expect the differences to become more noticeable. One is definitely more crumbly than the other, but I suspect it has more to do with the curd size going in than the culture. The thermophilic batch had smaller curds going into the press, so it makes sense that it would be more delicate. Fortunately, the crumbly block has donated a small sample for science. Very mild, slightly sesame, still pretty bland at this fresh stage. Now for the probiotic party block. Some edge pieces came away with the cloth, which is convenient because now we have another official science sample. Less crumbly, more flexible, and chewier. The taste is still mild, but the texture is already more satisfying. The taste, still pretty mild, so I'm not tasting a whole lot of difference, but salt will help reveal the flavor. Oh, that changes everything, my friends. The cheesiness comes forward. It's not strong, but it's distinct and reminiscent of fresh cheddar curds, almost like poutine curds with a whisper of nutty sesame. It's genuinely delicious as is. So let's do the same with the first batch. Taste test with salt. My friends, I'm shocked. This tastes like mozzarella, a mild sesame-scented mozzarella, but unmistakably, it's got that mozzarella taste. So we have two blocks made from the same milk, cooked and coagulated the same way, pressed to essentially the same weight. And the only intentional difference is the culture. Yet at this very fresh stage, the flavor difference is dramatic. We could stop here and call it a success. But could I really? Whose channel do you think this is? They'll go on matching bamboo mats to continue losing moisture. After 24 hours, they already look noticeably different. For the next 2 days, both cheeses needed to share, so I set the temperature for 95 degrees so they could both be comfortable. And this, my friends, is where the YouTube magic starts to wear off a little. Each block spent 3 days in the dehydrator in total. Team Thermophilic then rested 2 additional days at room temperature, while the probiotic party only rested 1 day at room temperature. So there's a slight difference in the final aging treatment, which is worth keeping in mind when we compare the finished cheeses. Which look nothing alike, not just the texture, which I'm convinced is more to do about the curd size before pressing than the culture. It's the color. Maybe a slight size difference? Let's weigh them. Whoa, 20% difference. As a result, Team Thermophilic is tougher to cut into. Look at those rinds. I can't wait to taste them and cook with them. As you might expect, our more moist friend is quite flexible. But everyone breaks eventually. At first bite, it's tangy and the sesame flavor is front and center. Then the mild, funky cheese flavor starts to come through, along with a very light Black Forest ham aroma. The texture is chewier, giving me the impression of a dry slice of aged Swiss cheese. Very interesting. Not like any other cheese I've had before, but highly snackable. Now for Team Thermophilic, made with our special cheese culture often used for dairy mozzarella. First off, much more brittle. At first bite, it's really bland, but as I chew, the milky mozzarella flavor starts to come through. Stronger this time than the last time we taste tested when it was freshly pressed. It's not as sharp as the grocery store probiotic version, but there is still a bit of tang. The finish has a woodsy soybean note at the end. Not bad, but if you really hate soy milk flavor, I don't think this one's for you. I'm really impressed by how much it tastes like mozzarella, though. Both of these are snack board ready, but I'm putting them on a pan. The pan is at 330 degrees Fahrenheit, medium heat. After a bit, the color development is kind of weird, like turning white where you might expect browning. 30 seconds more, the texture is softening, and I can see a little oil starting to seep out. Plant-based protein doesn't melt like dairy, so I don't expect anything other than a bit of softening and perhaps a flavor change, so let's taste it. On a little bread. First I'll bite without the bread on our grocery probiotic version of aged sesame-soy cheese. The texture is like overly microwaved cheddar cheese that's been cooled down, if you know what I mean. Let's try our fancy cheese culture version. Oh no, that's offensive. The sourness is more pronounced now, and the woodsy background has come forward in this barnyard funky way. With the bread, gross. I'm surprised the mozzarella flavor faded into this, I don't know, dusty, barny kind of flavor that I hate. Some people might like it though, which is a funny thing about cheese. I might think it's absolutely vile, for example, blue cheese, which I hate, but other cheese lovers might love it. Probiotic Party is nicer to my palate. The flavor is like a mix between a very mild cheddar and very mild Swiss with that Black Forest aromatic background and funky sharpness that's much better in my opinion, much just cheesier. You just gotta try it for yourself, I guess. So was it just the heat or the fact that I heated it this much, just plain on the pan? I have just the test to find out after I wipe out the pan. Add water, add salt. When it boils, add pasta. Of course, pasta will have the answer when it comes to cheese. So I divided the al dente pasta into 2 bowls, identical weights. And in the pan over medium heat, a teaspoon of olive oil. With nothing else added, I put the pasta back in, and then the cheese, which I grated and measured 20 grams for each. Heat through just a minute as I know it's not going to melt, and into our serving bowl to compare. I'm going to face my fears first with the thermophilic version. Hey, that's not bad. There is an off-putting aroma at first, kind of a sour Barney's scent, but the flavor is actually good. Mild, buttery, that mozzarella flavor is back. Extremely mild as mozzarella is, but it's there. I'm actually enjoying it very much. And for our grocery probiotic version, which I'm expecting to love, I do! The black foresty flavor is more forward this way, and the texture is a bit softer. Together, this pasta is really good. I think you better make this one. Now that we've determined that the specific cultures really make a big difference in flavor, I don't think you can pick up just any grocery probiotic if you want the same results. You gotta have to maybe use the same brand of variety. Or in the case of our mozzarella flavored sesame-soy cheese, the same special cheese culture. Which, for accessibility reasons, only having one vendor, I feel kind of weird about recommending. However, it is what it is. And now the Cheesemaker website has all their vegan cultures back in stock. You better believe I made another order to pit more cultures against each other. My order is still stuck at customs though, so it might take a while. In the meantime, I got these lotus seeds. What should I do with them? Let me know in the comments below and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And don't forget, Bydeem is offering 20% off their official website when you're using my code MTK20. Find the code and link in the video description or the pinned comment. Thanks again to Bydeem for sponsoring today, and bye for now.